Welcome to our talk. I hope you guys had a good time last night at the party. We surely did. So today, we're going to talk about user acceptance and performance testing with these tools that we developed internally at Tableau and we exposed them. Oh, wouldn't it be a good thing to be able to, in the evening, start a run, go home, spend time with family, friends, come in the morning and look at the results to see how your server behaves? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we think we can help you. The two tools that we developed today are especially designed for that, to help you save time. My name is Janus Grădinaru, and I'm a senior software engineer at Tableau in the performance tools team. I've been with Tableau for the last 3 years, and in this time I've been the lead engineer on one of the tools that we're going to discuss today, Scout. And here's my friend, Uma, who's in the same team as me.
Hi, Hi, my name is Uma Patimani. My friends call me Uma. I've been at Tableau for the last 4.5 years. This is my 5th Tableau conference. Each year I've taken different roles in the conference. I've been in registration, room management. Last year and this year, I've been Tableau speaker. And this is exciting for me because I get to present the tool that I developed. And you know, as our product became more complex and bigger, in the development team, we thought we need tools to debug, diagnose, and troubleshoot customer issues and reproduce it. And that's how, Replayer, one of the tool, came into existence, and same with Scout as well. We're all here because we know that validating your Tableau server after making changes is hard. If you're an admin, when you make changes to the Tableau server, you would be worried about two main things. Will everything work? Will everything be performant after you make the changes? In Tableau world, that means, will my workbook still work? Will my worksheets be slower or faster after I make those changes? Let's look at typical scenarios where you would make changes to your Tableau server. Upgrade. You move from one version of Tableau server to another. Lots of features coming in. We have a huge testing team at Tableau, but customers' deployment, it's so diverse, and you would want to do some testing on your end as well. And that's why we have these tools available for you. Topology changes. Say you want to expand your Tableau server environment. You want to add more workers, move processes from one worker to another. In the end, you want to see if that improved the performance of your Tableau server. Data source changes. Say you want to upgrade to your latest SQL Server driver, and you're worried if the workbooks that we're using, that data source, would still work or not after you make those changes. Authentication changes. Say you want to change the authentication on your Tableau server to Kerberos, and you're worried if everyone in your org will have access to all the wizards that they're used to. So for all this, we have these tools that can do user acceptance and then the performance testing as well. Yep.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is presenting these two tools, what they are, how they work, what we think they can help you with, and then we're going to jump in some demos because I know those are cool. And there's going to be some time during the presentation for questions. If we see that we're running low on time, we're going to keep some time at the end for Q&A. And also, I want to tell you from the beginning that at 12:45, I think, there's going to be a Meet IT speakers session. So if you look in your calendar, you might find it there. If you have more questions, we're going to be available a little bit.
Yeah, to us or anybody else any other speakers.
Yeah, so we're going to have some time after this session, but if you're very interested, you can come meet us at 12:45. Okay, with that, I'm just gonna jump to discuss about.
You didn't talk about my icons.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So if you like these icons, they are designed by Uma. He's the artist in our team.
Yeah.
He took a long time. He did it in Paint. So, all right. So Scout. This is Scout. Scout is an exploratory user acceptance and performance testing tool. Scout does the heavy lifting of discovering the content on your content of your server and then executing actions on it. The type of performance tool that Scout is, it's called user-perceived performance. Scout behaves as a user, and it goes through the content on your server as if there would be a user there, like kind of clicking on things and changing things in the browser and recording the end-to-end performance, like, I don't know, last mile or user-perceived performance. And we, in fact, use Scout internally to do validation. And for example, last year, we used it to validate the performance increases when we switched from the old engine of TDE to Hyper. So this is Scout. As you see, it's very simple to use. I'm gonna go through those options. They look a lot, but in fact, they're pretty self-explanatory, and we have good documentation on them. Scout, it's built in such a way that will execute the same sequence of interactions every time you run it, as long as the content on the server doesn't change. We call these scenarios. That makes it very useful as an A/B comparison tool for either user acceptance or performance testing. Going through this, we call them interactions or user actions. Going through these user actions, we record performance metrics, we record pass-fail, errors, things like that, and we also record screenshots. There are people that are using the screenshots themselves for validation. There are all kinds of tools out there, one being Apply tools, where you can do validation using different screenshots to see differences and whatnot. We don't really do that because it might give you too many false positives or false negatives. And it is easy to use. And once we go through the UI, I think you're going to see that. It's going to really save you time. And with that, I told you that I like jumping into the demo. And let me see if I can find the button here. OK. So at the beginning, I want to tell you a little bit about the setup here. This poor machine of mine is loaded with Tableau Server, SQL Server, Postgres SQL. And the demo is completely live. So bear with me. It might be a little bit slow.
And it's a Mac machine that's running Windows.
Yeah, and it's running on Parallels. Yeah. So let's go a little bit through the options here. As I said, I have Tableau Server installed on this machine. That's why the host, it's set. Let me see if this would work to point there. Well, that won't work. So good. Let me see with the mouse. You can see the mouse?
Can, yeah.
Good. OK, so it is running. I point Scout to the local server where I have Tableau Server installed. This is an on-prem deployment. I have a user that I want to run Scout with. Don't use 3-letter passwords. Those are not safe. And Scout has two ways of working. It can auto-discover the content on your server, or you can feed it a list of URLs and tell it, hey, run only on these things. If you want to do auto-discovery and you have a big, like a lot of content on your server, then you can trim it down, filter it by site, filter it by project, and then you can discover this content in alphabetical order or most used. Also, you can limit the number of views. So let's say you want to run on the 10 most used views on your server. So you just say most used and 10. So as I said, there's lots of options, but they should be pretty simple to understand. If you go down here, there's more options that are a little bit more complicated. I'm not going to go into them because then we're going to run out of time. There is good documentation on the community portal for each of these options. But I'm going to talk about, well, okay, we want to save screenshots, and I'm going to talk about iterations. For the purpose of this demo, we're going to only use one iteration, because it's going to be boring to look at the same thing 5 or 6 times. But in your real-life scenario, please use multiple iterations, 5, 6, even more, because you want to eliminate noise. You know, first iteration, the server is going to be called. Who knows, you know? So you want to eliminate outliers. You want to average a little bit. Maybe you can do median or things like that to eliminate noise. OK, and one thing that is new this year for Scout, and we just released version 1.3 yesterday, in fact, just for a Tableau conference, is saving the results to database. In the past, we were saving the results in CSV files, and we still do that. But now we can also save them to Postgres database. And that makes it easier to look at trends. And you know, like you don't need to work with one file or a multitude of files and then join them together or something. So with that, I'm just going to start a run. So what we're going to see now is that, as I said, Scout behaves like a user. So it goes to the server, it's going to log in on the server, and then now it's doing REST API calls to discover the content on the server. And there's something that I didn't say when I introduced Scout, is the way Scout works, it creates synthetic traffic. So this is like a user that goes in and interacts with the content on the server. That's going to be different than the tool Uma's going to talk about, which uses your real historical traffic. So what Scout is doing now is going through the workbooks, understanding the content of the workbook, and how we do that is we intercept the traffic between Tableau Server and the browser. And that's how the browser renders the content. It sees marks, it draws marks. It sees a categorical filter, it draws it. We do the same. We intercept this, it's called presentation object model. We intercept it, we deserialize it, we understand the state of the workbook, and then we know, oh, so there's marks. I can do a select. There's a map. I can zoom in, zoom out. There are categorical filters, hierarchical filters. I make changes. OK, so it's done. Let's take a look at the results in the database. You can still look at the results in the CSV file, but since we have this new feature now, we want to use the database. OK. OK, so as you see, I did prep for the presentation. That's why there's so many runs here. But this is the run I did on 25th. Right? We see here that it's a pretty clean run. So let's go first to the error summary. As expected, there's nothing there, which is good. There was no error. Everything's green. The error content, the error panels are completely empty. Let's take a look now at the run summary to understand a little bit what was going on. What's the performance? All right, so let's do this. So there's a little bit of statistics here. You know, what's the success rate? What's the failure rate? How many interactions were run on? How many workbooks it ran on? Remember when I said that I put a limit of 3 views? Well, that's why we only found 3 worksheets here. And then we can look to see, okay, so there's all this interactions, and there's all these workbooks. Let's see what happened here. This one seems to have been a little bit slow. So the load viz on Superstore took 3 seconds and something. OK. It's a load. The load viz, we expect load viz to take more than, let's say, select marks. You know, select marks on a viz that has very few marks, it should be fast. So we can even go deeper and see on this workbook what other worksheets were there, what other interactions were executed. I can select one of them and then see here, if I would have run multiple iterations, you would see a trend, you know? How did it go across iterations? And then you're going to see an average and things like that. So it's this view is good to see, or like, what is slow on my server, you know? And then maybe then you can jump in and do some changes, filter the data on the data source level, something to make it faster, kind of debug to see what was going on. Okay, so we've done that now. Now I want to show you something different. Okay, so I'm gonna first show you this. One of the worksheets that Scout ran on is based on a SQL Server live connection. And it's just showing some simple viz, right? Remember when Uma was talking about the fact that these tools are very good for validating changes, including data changes? Well, let's say I'm somebody who goes in SQL Server. I don't know there's a viz that is based on this, right? So I go and I'm really changing the name of a table, expecting that nothing's going to change. Well, that can happen, right? And it's very hard to find out who did it. So let's see if Scout can help you. One thing, let me show you something. All right, let me refresh this. It worked. Wow. So why did it work? Caching. So we have multiple layers of caching in Tableau Server. In order to not hit Tableau Server every single time, we cache, again, at multiple levels. There is a way for me to trick it that it doesn't cache anymore. So well, it's still caching, but what I do, I invalidate the cache. I tell it, nope, go to the data source and pull the fresh data. So it's just adding here, colon refresh equals y. And you see here that it errored out saying that the table didn't exist, which is what we were expecting. So now let's see if we run Scout again, what happens? One thing is that I'm going to choose this option of refresh cache so it doesn't, again, go through and hit the cache version. So right now, Scout is going to do exactly the same thing it did before. As I said, as long as you have the same data, it's going to execute the same scenario. One thing to keep in mind is that in order for Scout to record performance metrics specifically, you need to have performance web client metrics enabled on your server. And on the community portal, we have instructions on how to do that with tab admin for people that are running 2018.1 or previous, and then with TSM for any versions after that. Web client metrics.
Yeah, it's all documented in the community portal.
Yeah. Oh, wait. And by the way, if you have questions like that, yeah, please ask. Yeah, it's called Web Client Metrics, and on the Scout landing page that we're going to share with you, there are links on, if you have this version, go here to enable it with tab admin, go here to enable it with TSM. Okay. So now we have the results of this run. I'm not going to go and analyze them again. I want to do something else. I'm going to do an A/B comparison. And for that, right now, we don't do it through the DB. We still look at the CSV files, because I found out that when I do it through the DB and I join all the results on themselves, the data set gets huge. And it makes Tableau really, really slow. So maybe we're going to find a good way to do this in the future, but right now we're gonna do it with this CSV files. So let's select the two runs. Okay. And this is the run that I just did, the first one, and this would be the second run. Okay. Okay. So here you see a performance analysis, an A/B comparison performance analysis that says that the Superstore was a little bit faster the second time, like but to the level of 0.02 seconds. So it could be anything. But I can go further and look, okay, so how was it from interaction to interaction? How was it for each worksheet? And then I can even go deeper and look at, okay, if there were multiple select interactions on the same dashboard, how did each of them go? Then if I would have multiple iterations, I would see that too. So you can like really dig deep into the data. But the one that I was more interested is this one. So this compares this is kind of the user acceptance testing part. This compares the first run and the second run and tells you, oh, you know what? Second time, something failed. And it says there's a difference. If it failed the first time and second time, maybe that's expected. But something happened here that first run didn't fail, second run failed, right? So I can jump in here and look at that. This was how it looked at the first run. And this is how it looked on the second run. So I can see here that this table is no longer there, or it was renamed or something. So I can find my culprit that messed up my server. Oh, see how this can really save you time and make your life easier when you do like comparison between two runs. With that, we're going to jump back into the presentation. Let me close Scout and get everything ready here. I'm going to go back. And this is...
You want to ask a question?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Take questions or?
Oh, yeah, please
we
do.
can take few.
Yeah.
You said there was a performance issue. First you said you can go straight from the Postgres data, right to the database, and then query that database data source.
Yeah.
Then you said something that seemed conflicting, which is performance issues with the database.
No. Yeah, let me explain that. So the question is, I said that we save now the data to the database, and then I said, for looking at A/B comparison, we found it hard to do it directly in the database because of the way we were joining the tables. So to look at one run or to look at a trend of runs, it's very easy to do through the database, and it's really good, and that's how we do it. To do A/B, where you take the same entry from one run and the same entry from another one, you kind of join these tables on themselves. And I'm going to show you, in fact, Scout results, how they look in Tableau. We run on hundreds of workbooks and hundreds of thousands of iterations. When we join this data across multiple runs on themselves, the data set is so huge, it makes Tableau very slow. So that's why we prefer for A/B comparison to look at the CSV files. Sorry? CSV files. Comma separated. Yeah.
Does this has to be installed on Tableau Server, like on-premise itself, or
No.
be on multiple?
The question was if Scout needs to be installed Tableau Server. No. You just put Scout on a server. You point it to your Tableau server. You say, this server is what I want to run against. You put the username and just let it go. Yeah, it run on any machine. Yeah, that's the last question we take on Scout before Q&A. Please do.
If you enable that flag, are there security concerns we should watch out?
No. There's, in fact, and the other, okay, so the question was if we enable the web client metrics, are there security concerns? No, there's nothing. In fact, all it sends back is like instrumentation numbers. That's all. Another question would have been, are there performance effects? And in fact, not. Because what server is doing is just sending a very short request back to the server and to the browser. that in fact it's even being ignored. You know, it doesn't matter if it's successful or not. And the data in that request is it's limited. It's only like a couple of numbers, that's all. So
if somebody wrote another app to intercept that performance data, there wouldn't be anything.
Nothing. It's just numbers. It's like this thing took 1 second. This thing took 15 seconds. That's so what's new in the newest version of Scout? It should have said what's new in Scout 1.3, but I didn't do it. So is the support for PostgreSQL, the fact that you can run the data analysis based on PostgreSQL. Now you can interrupt a run. You start the run, realize that you're running on who knows what, hundreds of views, and you realize that that's going to take forever. So you can start it and restart it. And then, of course, bug fixes. In 1 year, things break. And this is what I was telling you, an example of a run that we did internally at Tableau that you can see. We ran on hundreds of workbooks, and we had like 230,000 iterations. That's why the analysis of A/B in the data, directly in the database, is expensive for us. And I'm not going to go deep into this. I just wanted to show you how it looks for a huge run. And then the same thing when you do A/B comparison for a huge run. You can see how much data we have there, and you can see, what was slower, what was faster, did we improve, did we regress. And with that, I'm going to give it to Uma here, who's going to talk about Replayer.
Yeah. Thanks, Janet. Well, since Scout was released over 2 years ago, Janet has been helping a lot of internal and external customers. He's very passionate about that, so please, make any feature requests if you have any. I'm sure you'll get to that soon. All right. Now let's talk about Replayer. Replayer can help in doing user acceptance and performance testing as well. So what is Replayer? Think of it like, you want to watch a match again. You have recorded it, and you want to play it back. What it does is it plays back the real traffic back to the Tableau server. That's what it does. So Replayer plays back traffic. What does it play back? It plays back the Wiz interactions. That is loading of the Wiz and interacting on it, like selecting marks, applying filters, navigating between sheets. It can play back single or multiple sessions. This is main difference between Scout and Replayer. Scout can play, it's a single user session, whereas Replayer can play multiple sessions at the same time. It's like your server receives sessions from multiple users, like the real environment. How does it work? On the top left, you can see people in the organization who would be interacting with the Tableau server. When they interact, all their actions on the Wiz load, the time at which they loaded, and the interactions, again, the time that they interacted, all that gets recorded in the logs. An admin can use TSM or tabadmin command to get a zip log and use another tool called LogShark to process the zip log. LogShark is a tool that Tableau released over 2 years ago that processes logs from various components of Tableau server and produces interesting wizards that tells the health of each of the component. Replay is a special plugin that extracts the traffic from the log and creates a file called a replay file, or playback.json, or replay file. One can load the replay file using the replay tool, this is a tool, and point it to a Tableau server that has the contents similar to the original server. So now you can play back the real user traffic back to a server. This could be your production environment. If you want to test something, this could be another test environment. This could be you want to move your server to AWS and you want to test if that is ready for that kind of load. So it could be anything that has the contents of your original Tableau server. So how to run replayer? There are two ways. This is the replay UI and this command line. The replay UI, you should use that if you want to filter the traffic, which you should. I'll explain more during the demo. There are a lot of other options. The command line you would use when you are sure about the traffic that you want to play back, and for running multiple iterations. This year we have integrated replayer with TabJolt. So for those who are familiar with TabJolt, it's a performance tool that Tableau has released like maybe 3-4 years ago. That's very popular. That does its own performance recording from Tableau Server. By combining these two, you can get more information for debugging, for analyzing your results. With that, let me share a demo of how ReplayTool works. I get really thirsty. All right. So as I said, first thing I need to do is close this. Okay. First thing you need to do is create the replay file. For that, use the tool LogShark, point it at your zip log, and say you want to load the replay plugin, which creates the replay file, which contains the traffic. I'm not going to run this part now, but this is a previous one that I did just before the demo. The output is it shows here's the replay file. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is load the replay file using the replay tool. It's very simple to start. Run this batch file. And I'm going to copy the path of the replay file. Okay. And say open. So this is all the sessions that was in the log, right? In your development environment, you might see thousands of sessions. This is for demo purpose, and we have about 14, I think. You need to point it to a Tableau server that has the contents, right? I'm going to point it to the local host. By the way, the traffic was recorded on another test machine, and we published the same workbook on Yonet's laptop, and we're going to play one of the, we're going to replay that. So let me, first, there are two options to play back the traffic. The browser options are Chrome and then HTTP. Chrome is for using Chrome. It runs single session only. And HTTP, you would use that. It's a browserless traffic that can send multiple sessions from your client machine to the server. So to show how replay actually works, let me select Chrome and then play back this session. So I selected one session from a username user1. It's going to use the credentials from the config file. In the config file, I have mentioned here's the admin credential to log in to replay back. So what it's doing now, it went to this Wiz, and it is selecting the marks. As you can see, these are all real user actions. The actions are also, the duration between the actions is same as the original user's, the think time. He might have spent, 5 seconds thinking when he loaded the Wiz, and he moves on to the next action. So that's what this tool is doing. It is using the same sequence with the same duration. While it's doing that, as you can see, it navigated to another sheet, and it is selecting more, applying filters on the side. Any interaction on the viz, the replay tool can just do it, because the logs contain all the details. All it does is just plays it back. Okay, so this is a long session with lots of commands. I'm going to cancel it so that I can move on to the next part of the demo. If you want to test the, sorry, yes.
What if your potential, if you use PPT and you have access to certain data sets?
Sorry,
What if your potential, the credentials that you use to log onto the server, has access to a different data set based on PPT?
yeah, so the question is what credentials to use. We use for testing, this testing would be done by an admin or somebody who wants to test your Tableau server. He should have access to all the databases.
I understand, but your credential is different than what the user credential.
Oh, it's okay. As long as you have access to the database, your wish should load. Yeah, your credentials will be different.
I think the question is more on what else security. Yeah, what else security. So if user has different set of, like, we can see everything, but
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so the Wiz is going to load with whatever user account that you're going to use. Yeah. So. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. So whatever the credentials that you give in the config file, it's going to use that with the web client API, and the authentication goes through. We can take one more question, and.
Well, I was just going to say, in response, we have a lot of users in many different roles. And what we ended up having to do is make sure that we had a test user for every single role, even when we're doing role-level filtering, to make sure that we could actually actively test and replay what the user was seeing. Because we'd often get calls from outside saying, I got an error here. We'd have to load up replayer or something else to, essentially as that user or as a test user with the same credentials, to replay to actually see that error.
yeah, the problem we have is that we have an Active Directory that's very tightly controlled.
Yeah, we have Active Directory as well.
And we use dual locking for every single user.
Yeah.
That's
Well-
a harder problem.
Yeah.
We'll take rest of our questions later, please. Well, I'll come back to you. Okay. All right. So now I want to show the HTTP option. This is how you test your Tableau server. You want to have multiple users loading and interacting. That's what you want to play back. For this, I'm going to use a sniffing tool, a network sniffing tool, Fiddler, and show the traffic because it's a browserless traffic. And say replay. So now you can see the sessions. It's running one after another and getting responses back from your Tableau server. Now, Tableau server is seeing requests. It's like coming from multiple real users. Before one session completes, another session has started. You can see the interactions on it, selecting marks, categorical filter, going to a different zones, etc. Right? It's doing everything, all the actions. Now, if you notice, it says replay running still. It's still running. Whereas the traffic, I think, would have stopped. The reason is due to all this timing. It's going to wait for another 20 minutes before it starts these new sessions. Another 2 more days to start, these sessions. This is how when you collect logs from your Tableau server, this is how it would look. It might be very sporadic. It would be spread out during multiple days. So what you should do is first filter the traffic, right? For that, I'm just going to copy the time from this window itself. Say this is the start time, and I want to play back. I'm interested in all the traffic that was on 10/16. Okay. I'll remove these other filters on users and say filter. Now I have filtered list. I want to save this to a file. And now you have a new file with just your filtered traffic. This is how you should, filter the traffic and use this for your automation if you want. Now let me copy this, if I could, and load this back in the replay tool. Okay, so now you have a new list with just 10 sessions. We removed 4 sessions that was going to happen 2 days later. So this is how you would replay your actual load on the Tableau server. Let me move on to the next part, which is how you can use Replayer for capacity planning. For that, there's another tab called Alter Traffic. Say your organization has 50 people now, and you're thinking about expanding it to another 50. And you're thinking if your Tableau server can handle that kind of load. What you can do with this is, with Replayer, is you can take your existing user pattern and multiply it and get the new traffic set and see if your Tableau server can handle by playing back that. So I'm going to multiply this traffic by 2, alter traffic, and now you have a new replay file with very similar pattern that has double the number of sessions. Yeah, you could even use decimal 1.5, 1.7, and multiply it based on how you want to do the capacity planning. Other thing I want to I'll come back. Other thing I want to show is consolidation. So as I said, the traffic on in some environments, it could be very sporadic. And if you're an admin and you want to test all the active worksheets in the last 3 days, and you don't want to wait for 3 days because nobody accesses in the night, you can coalesce this traffic. And if you know your Tableau server can handle, say, 10 sessions per minute, you can use this option to say a traffic rate 10 sessions per minute, alter, and give me the new replay file. With this, now you have a new replay file that has same traffic, but coalesced. It will remove all the lull period. So you can get the... Oh, sorry. So say you have, some sessions, 100 sessions that happened yesterday, and then 50 sessions that happened today. And in between, there is a lull, right? Night, there is no traffic going on. And you want to, as an admin, you want to access all of this, test all of this. So, yeah, by using this, you're just consolidating. It just picks the same traffic, but it runs it in a rate of 10 sessions per minute. So you play back all the traffic, not with the same pattern, but you still get to play back all the traffic. Yeah. So you can use 20 sessions per minute. There will be concurrency in that. All right. I can take more questions on this. Yes. The think time is the actual user think time. The tool doesn't add any new think time in between. Yes, if the users waited 10 seconds looking at the viz before he performed any action, then it would wait 10 seconds. Sorry, yes. I'm sorry? Linux server, yes. So with the, so you can point to any Tableau server. The client needs to be a Windows machine. You can point to any Tableau server that, that can, send the response back. I will take one more question, and I think it's all right. Yeah, that's a good question. So the interactions where it selects the marks, applies filters, and what if you go and change your workbook such that those marks are not present, those filters are not there anymore. In this case, yes, those interactions would fail, and you will see that in the result. When you do a A/B comparison, if you're seeing errors on result A and result B, you would know something failed. That's consistent, or take a replay of your latest data set to take the log chart from the latest data set. Don't use this for if you take a create a replay file. Don't use this 6 months down the line. Then a lot of things would have changed because there's new traffic. The workbooks could have gone. So create it, more frequently. Yeah. What? All right, let's switch to this. All right, so after running, next thing you do is analyze the results. Results can be analyzed in 3 main ways that we use. Replay wizards, first one. The tool comes with 2 TWIBs, workbooks for looking at the results. So as replay runs, the results are similar to Scout. It is getting written into a CSV file. The workbooks here from replay wizards uses those CSV files that you can analyze your results. TabJolt DB, as I said, this time we integrated replayer with TabJolt. With using those DB, you can pull up the new run IDs and do an A/B comparison on that, or you can do comparison with multiple results, 2 or more results. Another thing is LogShark. When you play back the traffic, again, all that gets recorded in your new log set. You can use LogShark and analyze that. So here is a Viz which is typical, I guess, where you have a workbook and worksheets. These are all where the worksheets have been accessed at different point in time by different users. Some workbooks have loaded consistently, I guess. Some have failed and in loading and succeeded in other places. Towards the end, something happened to the Tableau server during this load scenario. So you might want to look at what really happened. This run really doesn't look good. You might want to verify your Tableau server and see what changes you are making by using seeing when you see results like this. Here is an A/B comparison Viz. From run A, so it's pointing to a Viz, and it's showing how long it took to load the page. Run A, run B, as you can see, the run B took a little bit more time for many of the Vizes than run A. So before you make the changes that you're making, see if it's the right change. See what you need to do before you go on putting this in the production environment. This is a TabJolt Viz. What you're seeing is a timeline, a 2-hour run. Each dot represents the time taken to load a Viz. The green ones are all success. Rest are they have some failures. As you can see, some have timed out, like we have set a timeout for 300 seconds. And the average and median seems to be quite consistent in all these runs. So yeah, you can use all these results to come to a conclusion on whether you want to move on with the changes. Okay, so this is just a recap. What can you use Replayer for? Like this tool, it has multiple purposes. You can use it for user acceptance testing. It can tell you whether the page can load during the load condition or not. It can measure performance using a real-world load condition. You can reproduce and troubleshoot an issue. Like as I said, as I showed in the first part of the demo, where I selected a single session using Chrome browser, where I could play back some users' actions. You can play that back and see if the user complains about some issue. You can play that back and see if you can reproduce that and fix it. And you can multiply the traffic and simulate various load condition for capacity planning. What does Replayer not do? There are a lot of things that happens on Tableau Server. It does not play back user publishing, the backgrounder, refresh extract, alerts, etc. We are planning to add backgrounder replay, by the way. And also the WIS portal replay, where you navigate in the Tableau Server. So the best practices: first, filter the traffic. Make sure this is get to a. I usually select the morning traffic from 9 to 1, which is like use a 4-hour window, which is still enough that you would wait for the result and you can have multiple iterations of it. At least run 3-4 iterations. Do you want to replay on the production environment? I have done that, but do it during the non-business hours so that it doesn't affect the real users, and minimize other interference. So again, run it during the non-business hours. Before you go home, run it and come back and look at the results. All right?
So where can you find more information about these tools? Both tools are available on the community portal. You can download them from there. You can look through the documentation. You can see comments from other users, our replies to them. And that's the link for Scout and for Replayer. And you can contact us.
Yeah.
We try to be always kind of looking for what's going on there.
Yeah,
and
please provide feedback if that's what gives us more energy to improve the tool. Internally, we might cook up something and work around, but if you want to make the experience better, we need that feedback. We want to know that more people are using it so that we can invest more time on this.
Yeah, please try them out. If it works, give us feedback. If it doesn't work, give us feedback. We're working on improving them. We have an appendix here with other server tools. We're kind of tight on time. We're just going to this is going to be in the deck that you guys are going to have available. So what we're going to talk is all the server tools that Tableau gives available to customers, what they are, how you use them, how they can be helpful to you. What's the difference between them? Because lots of people say, oh, okay, Stop Jolt, what's it do? Scout, Replayer, all these. A prerequisite and where to get them, find more information. And see, there's a couple. Oh, you wanted me to go slow. Okay. But again, this is going to be available. If you can take a picture, yeah, please do. Okay, I'm going to jump to the next one. And here, for people that are interested in Tableau, there's going to be a session at 12:30. You can find more information about Tableau there.
You can attend the IT session that's starting
exactly,
at the same
yeah.
time. So.
But if you want to talk with us even more, please come there. There's going to be other people from the IT group, and they're going to be available probably to talk with you. I hope it's kind of a panel with speakers or something like that. Sorry, yeah?
You can take questions. Yeah, you can go. Oh.
One more.
Yeah, we can take questions if you're.
Okay.
Yes.
Will Scout run on a single site with site admin privileges?
Yeah, but it can run on, well, you can run it on multiple sites if you want, if you don't put site as a filter.
But so I'm a consultant at a company where I'm a site admin.
Yeah.
Can I run Scout from my machine with my site admin privileges successfully just on that site?
Oh, yeah,
It doesn't
definitely.
need any higher like server admin.
No. You can run it as any user as long as you have access to the content.
Yes, sir. Data, can you use Scout for data download validation? No. I'm not
No.
sure what it is.
No, not right now. No.
No, not.
So this tool are not replacing Tableau, right? It's just
Replayer can replace TabJolt. It's integrated with TabJolt. So it's a you use TabJolt if you have new server and you're new to Tableau Server and you want to do capacity planning. If you already have a well-established traffic, then I would suggest using Replayer because you have you're using your actual workbooks and then the user pattern.
Is there any other tools I can use to test the download performance? Because right now we are having very for users to download the data, like the full data, basically export it, right?
I'm going to take this. I do not know, but I suggest coming to the IT server. If there is something, people at the IT server panel might know about it. If not, you can contact us. I'm going to put here. One thing before we go there.
Any questions on Scout and Replayer?
No, just a second.
Well, no, while you answer that.
So one thing, please fill this. It's going to help us improve our talk. Give us feedback, what we did good, what we didn't do good. It's going to get better based on that. And these are our contacts. If we're not going to be able to respond to your questions, ping us, and we can ask other people in Tableau too if we don't know the answer. I'm going to just leave this on so people can get our information.
Yes, ma'am. Question.
for the Tableau. So if we
For TabJolt, okay.
no Tableau, the monitor Tableau. So if we server is Linux, we have to install the Tableau and Tableau on another separate Windows server.
So Tabmon, TabJolt, again, we can take those questions in the server IT session. There are people who have talked about it. They can, explain more. We have ideas, but we can discuss about that in the server.
Okay. Please.
Question. I guess SAML, with SAML it won't work, right? Or if
For Scout specifically, you would need to have Tableau Server authentication because it uses the UI. It needs to log in through the UI.
No, so
For
well,
HTTP,
so
for HTTP traffic.
So both tools uses credentials from the config file. If the UI opens and it's going to use those credentials there, whatever the authentication method behind, if it's SAML or if it's AD, it's going to take it, right? We just call the web client API to connect to that. So the local authentication or AD authentication or SAML, all of that should go through for both the tools.
okay.
Yeah.
If your company location is in two different places, then would you run it from how do you impersonate the network? Like how do you, let's say one route is slower,
Uh-huh.
IT session what time?
do you use this to capture?
It depends. You make the call where you want to put those clients. Oh, your company has two different location and traffic going to your Tableau server. I believe, if you want to simulate that, you can, run one client from one location and another.
Was it this?
Yeah, yeah, you could do that. Yeah, yeah, you could do that.
Thank you so much.
Look at that network.
Yeah, yeah, you could do that if you want. Yeah, yeah. Then yeah, you'll get a good A/B comparison whether all users will have a similar experience. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So I use Scout, works fine for the smaller workbooks.
Uh,
But if it's a huge workbook, sometimes it stops and it doesn't give you any error, or like we don't know what to do. Is there anything I'm doing wrong, or?
Well, yeah, so there is a thing, you're not doing it wrong. The timeout in Scout was set very aggressive to 10 seconds. If something takes more than 10 seconds, Scout says, no, I'm not going to do it anymore. The version that we just released yesterday ups the timeout to 20 seconds, but there are ways to put it, you want to put it to 2 minutes, you can do that. Yeah. So that's documented in the community portal. Again, you can ask us also. Yeah, so if you run into troubles, please contact us.
So I have probably some questions not related to this, but in general about this.
Yeah, if you have those, can you?
I'm not sure if you are the right person or.
No, please ask
Okay.
the question so we know.
So how do we identify blank reports or reports with no data? Like is Scout or Replayer going to help us?
Yeah, so if the Wiz loads, then both tools will report that as success.
So let me take something here. Please ask on the community portal. That would be something very simple from Scout point of view to bubble up. We can definitely bubble up the number of marks. And if you see something with 0 marks, it's going to be empty. So ask as a feature request on the community portal. That's something pretty easy to implement.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, learning features. That's all right.
So can we do the capacity planning or the user acceptance testing with all the sites?
Yes, but Scout is not good for capacity planning. Scout runs as a user. One single user, one thread going on in the browser. So I don't think it's going to get you information for capacity planning specifically. TabJolt, Replayer would be the tools for capacity planning.
Did you somehow manage the full process and automate it, for example, with Scout? Because I'm the server admin, I have a couple of sites. I would like
Yes,
to
yes, 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 sir.
for
Yeah.
every single site. So the workbook itself with only this data on the site. For example, running Scout and at the end something changes. The workbook with the data embedded to the specific site.
It's not automated. Theoretically,
That
you can do
will
it
so that
manually.
will not be reflected, right? Yeah, the data will change. What it will show is, hey, this Wiz is now loading slower than it was in the past.
Yes.
The interaction, some of
Yes.
them are failing
So,
because
in fact,
some of the data.
let me turn
So
this
that
off.
is how you move.